Hi everyone, Brian from Bearable Traders here. It is Sunday, May the 3rd. Hope everyone's had a great weekend and what's left of it. And yeah, so let's take a look at the week that was quickly. 2 days of selling on Thursday, Friday, and some talk saber rattling again about tariffs on the Chinese for in retaliation to the virus thing. Of course, resulted in a lot of selling on Friday. We've already got pretty bad outlook in terms of the global economy, and that wasn't certainly welcome news in terms of the market. So let's see what we got coming up here the week. We got lots of earnings. We've got 500, 600, 700 earnings reports coming out, starting out the week with Tyson, who obviously in the news because they warned about the supply chain for meat, and they're shutting down some plants. That's not good. And yeah, and then we've got a lot of other earnings. Let's take a look quickly at Tuesday. Um, Disney, a couple of the gaming stocks, which should probably turn in some good results since people are staying at home and playing games. We got Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat's been on the watch list. Day traders have been trading it a lot. Match is probably not going to do well because nobody's meeting. And then Thursday or Wednesday, what do we got here? Well, we got PayPal and Square both reporting on Wednesday. Should be interesting. PayPal's really up back at its all-time high. Square not so much. But yeah, really interesting to see what PayPal does because it's just, like I said, it's right back up at its all-time high, or at least back a couple months ago. Shopify, Twilio, yep. So anyway, a lot of interesting things coming up this week, and obviously we get Tesla in the news as well, with the famous or not so famous Elon Musk tweet on Friday that knocked, what was it, 13 billion off the value of the stocks of its stock. I don't think a lot of people that were holding that were very happy about that tweet, surprisingly, or maybe not so. So let's take a look at the indexes here. You can see that this was sort of the tail of the tape of a lot of stocks. We tried to break out here midweek, and Wednesday it looked like we were, like this Tuesday looked like a bit of a rejection from a breakout, and then Wednesday we looked like we were going to break out, and now we had a false breakout, and now we had two bad days, Thursday and Friday, obviously. The lower volume days, high volume day on this Wednesday breakout, and then lower volume days on these two pullbacks. So kind of interesting price action. And the Treasuries, to me, it looks like we're putting in a bottom. And I was reading some stuff on the weekend. There is some theories out there that there's a shortage of dollars in the globe, U.S. dollars, and of course U.S. dollars are used to buy a lot of things. So maybe there might be something that might drive interest rates on some of these treasuries higher if countries and people that need dollars don't want to put them in treasuries. Maybe they'll just hang on to them, which means the demand for treasuries will be lower, which means the yield will have to rise to get interest in the treasuries, to get people to put money into the treasuries. So that is the theory. You can see here, this is the weekly on the 10-year. We're making a series of higher lows here. And I think to me, it's looking like that the yields will go higher, which means bond prices will go lower. That's what I'm going to be watching for. So again, this is kind of the tail of the weekly tape here. Wednesday looked like a breakout, false breakout. Thursday, Friday, sell off. And on the weekly chart for the Dow, you can see here that's definitely a reversing candle. Right back at the 200-day on the weekly. Again, It's going to look like a lot of the other charts. The IWM was probably the worst looking one. We did finish up on the week. We were up, 2% plus on the week, but definitely a huge rejection on this candle here. And we had a bigger volume week. RSI still looks like maybe curling up, but I took a short on that based on that candle. Let's take a look at the Qs quickly. Again, Qs probably, they had a much lower range in terms of their on the weekly. Traded up a bit, false breakout, and then broke down again. Not a lot of volume. MACD still looking okay. The market, to me, I mean, overall, it still looks like I would not be surprised if it goes higher, but I think this is kind of a bit of a, I think we're in a bit of a, what do you want to call it? We're in a bit of a no man's land here. Let's say that. Does it look like we're going to have a serious breakdown? I think they're still going to do whatever they can to keep this market up, and the Fed's obviously still behind us, this market 100%, and I just feel like they're just going to keep trying to keep supporting this market. But on the flip side, you've got a horrible global economy that is not going to come back, and I don't believe it's going to come back in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, like people are saying, I just don't see it storming back. We're not going to have a vaccine. It's everyone says 12 to 18 months. I'd be surprised if it's 12 months. I think that's optimistic. The global economy, a lot of the damage has been done. I just do not see, how that's going to play over with what the Fed's doing. It's just like the battle continues. Let's just say that. Again, SPY, pretty nasty looking doji. If you're a bull, again, pretty clear rejection from a gap fill here. So MACD still turning up a bit here. The dollar, again, just sort of finding a level. I think it's up again this evening in the futures markets. VIX popped a little bit here on Thursday, Friday, with the market selling off. It's kind of the first time it's done this in a couple of weeks. Since last week we had a bit of a pop and then a drop again. So again, right up some moving averages. RSI is turning up here. MACD is starting to turn up, so maybe there's some conflicting information as to whether we're going higher or lower. Right now, the futures are pointing lower. Let's take a look at some of the stuff got on. No, didn't want to do that. Let's take a look at the stuff quickly. Got on watch. Boeing's sort of chopping in this range. Again, Boeing is one of those stocks that I think, if you've got a 5-year timeline, I think you could buy Boeing and put it away. In the short term, you might end up seeing it trade back down to 120 or even retesting the lows at some point. But again, I think Boeing's not going anywhere with their airline business and defense business. Gold was interesting. I did take an entry on gold. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I was waiting for a pullback on gold and got it on Friday. KWEB. KWEB's really had a couple of bad days for the Chinese internet stocks and lost the 200-day. Could be coming back down here to 44, and I'm sure it'll find some support on 44. So might want to set could set a alert at 44, and if it gets there, it looks like an area that's had some pretty significant support at that level. So could be interesting. There's a big biotech conference coming up on May 5th. I think it's called Maxim. we've had quite a few of the small caps are presenting. mRNA, I don't know if mRNA is presenting, but it looks like it's sort of forming a bit of a pennant here, so might be worth keeping an eye on to see which way it breaks. Because usually when they form these pennants, it usually results in a break one way or another. The semis had, not they tried to break out. 2 bad days, Thursday, Friday, the rest of the market. So probably a continuation lower if the market moves lower. I've noticed Intel and Nvidia also bad days. A couple bad days there. Just kind of trading with the market. Square, again, that reports this week along with PayPal. It looks kind of stuck in a range. PayPal is trading up here. I won't pull a chart up, but PayPal's come all the way back up to its previous high, whereas Square has not. So maybe a little nervous about holding PayPal through. If you were going to hold PayPal, it'd be a lot of optimism is obviously priced into PayPal. Square, not so much. But as you know, if you follow me, I do not hold stocks through earnings. It's just too unpredictable. So here's a way to play. If you're really thinking the interest rates are going to start to creep up here, this is one way to play TBT, or play the interest rate yield increase TBT. It's short the 20-year Treasury. So that means the 20-year Treasury price drops, means yields go up. And we definitely got a level to trade against here. Sort of this 1520. What's the low here? 1506, 1526, 1530. Yeah. So anyway, what's the low here? 1506. It certainly looks like it's holding 15. So I'm going to be watching that, and I guess you could probably, if it broke this high, which is 1572, 1570, you could go adding to it, and we could get a pop up to this moving average. So over 17. And you can see here back in March we had a bit of a pop here. So if you kind of bought into this theory that the Treasury yields are going to have to rise to get some interest in them, then maybe there's a pop here in this one. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. So TZA is the one that I'm holding right now. Not a great close, but I just like the way the doji looked on that weekly candle when we went into that. And so that's where got that. Add that one in. And UNG is something I'm watching, and I'll lay out my thesis here very quickly. Obviously, everybody knows about the challenges with oil, oversupply, no demand, very little demand. And we're coming up on another month. You remember last month with USO and people were struggling to get rid of the oil and they were paying to take the oil, getting paid to take the oil because they're going to have to store it. These tankers are floating around. They're actually acting as floating storage facilities right now. This is why NAT did so well. I read something with Goldman Sachs had mentioned something that we were 3 to 4 weeks away in the U.S. of being completely full on the storage front. And I don't know if this is really going to improve over the next 3 to 4 weeks. It just seems to me that we're heading for some shutdowns in the oil and gas sector. Some of these oil rigs in the Permian, they don't want to shut them down because quite often when you shut a well down, it damages it permanently. So the reserves in there cannot be recovered, and that's why they don't want to shut them down. Also, it's expensive to start them up again. But I don't know if we're going to get into a situation where they're actually going to have to. They really are going to run out of storage, and they're going to have to. There's going to be no choice. They're going to have to shut them down. So how does that affect UNG? Well, a lot of these oil wells also, the byproduct of their production of oil is natural gas. And so if they start shutting these wells down, natural gas inventories are going to start to drop because they are going to be taken offline. So if natural gas inventories start to drop, naturally the price of natural gas starts to go up. And remember, we're going into the summer. I don't know what kind of summer we're going to have. It's going to be hotter or cool or whatever, but we use a lot of electricity, and so it could potentially drive the price of natural gas up. So one way to play that sort of theory is by some UNG, and you can see here we're down pretty significantly, so there isn't a lot more downside. And you've got 1226 here. This level seems to be holding right now, 1288, 1295, 1287. So, if we can hold this sort of 1250 level, what's this level here, 1221 on a low. Again, if you can hold this could be kind of an interesting play into the summer, and there's a lot of upside here on a percentage basis. So my theory on natural gas, take it or leave it. If you think it might be worth a play, I might be looking at a natural gas play too. Oil, I just talked about that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as we get into the middle of the month and these futures contracts we get into the expiry date on those. It'll be interesting to see if we get into the same situation again where people start scrambling to try to figure out where all the oil is going to go. Or if it's going to be a little bit more muted this time. Be watching that. And again, that could be an interesting driver on the gas side, natural gas side. I already talked about. Anyway, this it's just a biotech. I remember the biotech sector are going to be presenting. AIM is one of them. Here's AIM kind of trading into a very narrow range here. This is one that's presenting that I was looking at. ADPN is PDN is another one. It's going to be presenting, so something maybe to keep an eye on as well. That's it, everybody. Sorry it was a little longer than normal. It's my book, How to Swing Trade on Amazon. Look forward to, if you want to check it out, you can buy it. And we'll see you in the Bear Bull Trading Room tomorrow morning, 8:30. Pre-market show starts. 9:30 we start trading the market. And hopefully we'll see you then. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. Ciao for now.